Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters, and welcome to our study today, Sabbath, the 8th of March, 2025, where we are looking at our health presentation entitled Drugs by Brother Keagan Bana. So we hand over to Brother Keagan for the prayer thought and the prayer. Okay. Our prayer thought is coming from Councils on Diet and Food, page 17. That will be CD, page 17. CD, page 17. Okay. Inspiration says the following. I start from paragraph 1.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Paragraph 1 says, God is as truly the author of physical laws as he is the author of the moral law. His law is written with his own finger upon every nerve, every muscle, every faculty which has been entrusted to man. This is also found in Christ Object Lessons, page 347 and 348. I continue.
Okay. That's there.
No.
Okay, you can say the creator of man.
Okay, paragraph 2 says, the creator of man has arranged the living machinery of our bodies. Every function is wonderfully and wisely made. And God pledged himself to keep this human machinery in healthful action if the human agent will obey his laws and cooperate with God. Every law governing the human machinery is to be considered just as truly divine in origin, in character, and in importance as the word of God. Every careless, inattentive action, any abuse put upon the Lord's wonderful mechanism by disregarding his specified laws in the human habitation is a violation of God's law. We may behold and admire the work of God in the natural world, but the human habitation is the most wonderful. Okay, this is coming from Sin Taking a Course which needlessly expends vitality or beclouds the brain, page 194.
Okay. So with that, we're going to pray. We're going to, from there we've read saying that the Ten Commandments, or the Decalogue, is the one who authored them is God, and we see that the health law as well is the same as the Decalogue. That's what you've seen there. It said God is as truly the author of physical laws. Okay, the physical laws we know is, let me give the example of the laws of gravity is part of the physical law. If a person was to try and walk in the air, or he climbs a high tower, then tries to walk in the air, all the people would come there, they would call the police and try to arrest that person. But if in explanation that person is to say that, no, I just wanted to walk in the air, or to break the laws of gravity, we know that is suicide. If a person was to try to walk in the air, we call that as what? Suicide. But most of the people today, they are trying to commit suicide. They are not really trying to walk in the air, but they are breaking the laws of health. The laws of health, for instance, there's what you call the circadian rhythm law. That law that governs the day and the night. People, they eat most in the night. Before they sleep, they eat food. But according to the body's design, we should not supposed to eat late meals in the night. Also, we're breaking the laws of health. Eating also food that is not supposed to be eaten. That is also ingesting drugs which we're supposed not to ingest in the body, in the system. That is breaking the laws of health. Okay. So that is the same, basically. You know, from the example that I've given, the medium example that I've given, from the other perception would say that one, that Minden example I've given, the police would try to arrest that person, but those people that really injure the laws of health, the same as the same person who was trying to walk in the air, but by virtue of doing that, we know gravity would pull him down and would be crushed. He would die. Okay. But most of the people, if they break the laws of health, not looking at it from that perspective, they would justify what they do. Okay, that's the reason God is very strict in that court, and there are more strict courts than that one, where he says idiots are not responsible to reason the way the court is brought. Okay, because God is truly the author of the physical laws. I mean, the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments, as the author also of what? Of the physical laws. Okay. So he wrote the physical laws. He also wrote the Decalogue. So you cannot be saying, I keep the Ten Commandments, but yet you break the physical laws. If you break the physical laws, it's the same as breaking the Ten Commandments. Okay, that's the quote. So we're going to pray in regard to that. To that quote, so that God helps us to be able to regard all the laws, the physical laws, and also the Ten Commandments. Okay, because Christ said that if you love me, you'll be able to keep my commandments. Okay, so we are going to kneel down and pray in regard to that. Let's pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, we thank you for the gift of life that you still grant to each one of us. You say that every day is another chance given to us to live right. Today you've reminded us that breaking of the physical laws is the same as breaking of the Ten Commandments. And the sole reason to why this misery we are undergoing is because man broke the Ten Commandments. And because of that, the Ten Commandments is the same as you. And you can't break it. To break it is the same as defacing your character. That's the reason you decided to atone for man. You died for the penalty of man. Also, it's the same at play. The Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments cannot atone or cannot pardon, but it can only condemn. That's the reason you came to die for the penalty of man. May you help us all, Master Redeemer, to be able to keep and respect you. In the name of Jesus, we do pray. Thanksgiving in our hearts. Amen. Amen. So I've begun first to read the quotes. For looking at drugs, we started a long way. We began first with vaccines. Those who are not with us, we discussed vaccines, we discussed drugs. We began discussing drugs. I think this is the third or fourth time us discussing, and we have a pamphlet circulating discussing drugs. We discover that drugs or pharmacy is the same as sorcery or pharma. We discovered all that. Pharmakia, we see that's a what? A Greek word, which when you check the interpretation or translation of it into English, it is sorcery. Okay, sorcery or practicing of sorcery. Today in Africa, they consider the practicing of herbs as what? As sorcery. But in the Western world today, they are shifting. They are shifting from high-tech or drugs into what you call herbal medicine. That's what they are trying to do. Okay, so there has been a paradigm shift. And in the same Western world, we see a lot of schools training, teaching natural remedies. Here in Zambia, you see a few, if none, if not none. Okay, but what has happened today? I don't know, because it's Sebi always said when he was alive, he said the reason why we are embracing the high-tech medicine is because we are scared of the whites. They would come and kill us. So we do not want that thing to repeat itself. So we want to please the whites to take their drugs so that they don't want to kill us. So that they will not come and kill us. That's what Sebiu say, that deep down we believe in the medicine that our great-great-grandmothers used to give us. But the reason why we cling to the drugs is because we are scared of the whites. That's what she would say. But I don't know if that is true. Let me just delve into this which I have at hand. I'll begin to discuss first. Let me just first begin to discuss this. The misnomer, or the things that people think that they're not there in the writings of Ellen White. Ellen White talked of the gadgets like X-ray machine. I've seen a lot of people who are health reformers who say we can't use the machines because of radiation. Radiation, yes, could cause cancer, but should we avert using them? Should we not use machines such as ultrasound machine, X-ray? Yes. Oh, okay. Okay, let's go. Taminati Kamba, I'll be able to be also translating. Now, Tamitika, just discuss pali drugs. Okay, drugs muchi nyanja waita na bwanji. Mankwara ya chizungu. Mankwara ya chizungu, aya. Kulibaja mankwara ya chimuntu, I don't know the swapped, because mankwara ya chimuntu ndiye afuni kunkhala ni drugs, because yaja mankwara dita na ya chimuntu, si muntu anapanga hai. Timaenda jabe kuenda kutenga muzyo na matepo, sindise tinapanga ni mulungu anapanga. So sunga kamba yaja mankwara, sunga ita ni mankwara ya chimuntu. Hai. Mankwara ya chimuntu yo taindinga ita ni mankwara ya chimuntu ndiye aja muntu anapanga. Fula di panado kafimo. Hai, yaja ni muntu anaenda mlabu. Anaziendera yeka na kuambo paka. Hai. Ndiye mankwara ya jani ya chimuntu. Mmezesa. So ndiye baindikamba. So patikamba manje kuti ati muntu anakwera manje apanga machine. Madana di makina. Anapanga makina. Aja machine anapanga muntu. Anapanga kuti atitandize kuti tizive kudala. Senzo muntu akadwala. Olo makolo watu. Izo chizivira kuti ati muntu adwala. Mwana akabadwa. Izo nkara na chapa mutu. Ija chapa mutu. Chichima nkara mchizunga kama fontenere. Chapa mutu chija. Chikadumbwira pansi nishimu. Makola zaziva kuti mwana adwala. Ai chikangena pansi. Nitenzo zivira kudala. Olo akamuyangana mwana saenda ku toilet. Sa polomye mwana. aizo mujita chani azaona kuti ati mwana pali vuto ni so azatenga azamuyika kanthu kuchani olo sopo amuyika achachana aenda toilet abwerera mnono ndetenzedi kudala azamugwira mwana muona traditionally way of treatment, the way they used to, even diagnosis wazangana kudala. Even today modern medicine have adopted that. They wazangana mumeso, so wazangana meso kuti uyu aoneka yellow rupanje meso akaoneka yellow mumeso azaziba, ora akaoneka maningi tumagrandula ora tumalaini twamizipe mkati muja machani capillaries or venues akangana muoneka maningi twa red hospital zakamatiwa na BP kudala isitenzo enzo ziba uyu maybe mutu baba why meso oneka bwanje urusana gona So there used to be the ways on how they used to diagnose what diseases kudala. In English they say they used to use sclerology, studying of the sclera and white pigment of this. Bazangana so bagangana bazaziro kutatu umuntu adwala. Okay? Or maybe bazaona chama physical kapena oneka skin oneka yellow bazaziro kuti wadwala. Manje hapo manje azungu analetako what we call makina. Aya makina analetako what we call them at X-ray. X-ray machine. So there's a time when I wanted to do X-ray. That's the truth about it. In science, we are not taught. You know that the biology is not science. Yes, physics is science. Hello. Yes. What I mean is not really study of life. What I mean, biology does not really study life. That's what I mean. Or it's not science. Because biology, what they do is what you call, what can I say, it's belief. For instance, all those people who have studied biology, they know that even the cell, they started just begin to label the cell and to master, you have to master that this is the vacuole, this is the nucleus, the chloroplast, then you master its activities. Most of them are myths attached to biology, not really study of life. Understand? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Yes, but the science that we know is like physics. Physics is science. Okay. Like we don't understand today how radiation works, but that is hidden. Those who've done science, they don't know how radiation works. But those who've studied science, who've studied the radiation, they know. Like for instance, how does the X-ray work? To pick once it scans, then it picks the actual, okay? The actual things that are supposed to be picked. The reason, at first, when you discover that the study of X-ray, they wanted first to put it in color. Why they didn't put it in color? Why is one again color? Why? Oh, the reason is yes. The reason is simple. The reason why they didn't put in color, because color deceives. Hello? Well. Okay, because color deceives. It can deceive or alter images. For instance, if all the organs in the body were pictured in color, they were not to have true interpretations. Okay, that's the reason they decided to put them in black and white. Because black and white, you can't alter, okay, the interpretation. So if just like, for instance, in the bush, the reason why soldiers wear that color, the camouflage color, so that the person would not maybe catch them. they align themselves, even the way the chameleon does, the way it would. So if, for instance, the part that you're supposed to pick when you've done the X-ray is similar to the color, you would easily misinterpret or misdiagnose. So they eventually decided to let us put it into what? Into black and white. Okay. And the reason why we human beings we see in color is because of taste. We know it's because of the taste that we have. But other studies suggest that animals, they don't see in color; they see in black and white. That's the reason they are very good at what? Catching their prey. Okay, catching their prey, they are very good because then they don't consider the color; they consider the what? If something moves, okay, visual streak, then bazagwira. Wakoroja beka moving country, bazagwira. That's how also they see. But the point of why nigamba hivi nigamba kuti awa wazungu anatiletera makina X-ray, and there's a backing in council where it says we can use what? X-ray machines, in short. Let me read here. Yeah, this is I don't know if you have this pamphlet. Okay. This is letter 30, 1911. Letter 30, 1911 by Sister Ellen White. It says, X-ray treatments at Loma Linda for several weeks. I took treatment with the X-ray for the black spot that was on my forehead. In all, I took 23 treatments, and these succeeded in entirely removing the mark. For this, I am very grateful. This is letter 30, 1911. Okay, so in the treatment, we can adopt with this example or blueprint. Example, tinga using a machine flu matani X-ray. Tinga using X-ray. Okay. So sitabe X-ray kuliambili in Loma Linda what do you call sanitarium. Still sitabe X-ray iliko kuliambili bainayo, right? Kuli CT, kuli nadhani, right? Kuli even encephalograph, the one that reads brain activity. Kapena muntu I don't know if they have it in Zambia. The one that bashita bazibira kukuta tuyadwala kunyu. They use CT there here, right? Okay. Okay. Is the one to read brain activity where they put here, then bazazi bakuta tuyu adwala mafitsi, epilepsy or kunyu, read brain activity. Okay. There are also others like ultrasound scan. Okay. What are others? What other machines do we have? Okay. Those are the things. The others is just okay, and also so in short, in a nutshell, we can adopt those, but we know that the excess use of those, they can cause what can cause cancer. We understand that, okay, because of the radiation attached to that. We can have those. The other one is blood transfusion. Blood transfusion, I'll have it here. Blood transfusion, this is letter 37, 1901. It says blood transfusion. There's one thing that has saved life, an infusion of blood from one person to another, but this would be difficult and perhaps impossible for you to do. I merely suggest it. Okay. We know blood transfusion kuija kuyigisa omuntu asira blood magazi then wamuchira chani wamuchira donate magazi. For instance bajaba blood type zingati O angashitire donate muntu ali jani aliyense ayi omuntu aliyense angashitire receive. So kapena imwe muna magazi ambiri muri blood type O mufuniko pasa wajantu alibe magazi. But aja ali blood type AB eve acha receive kuli bonse ni universal recipient so agamba kupasa magazi si chimo kuli anthu enango agamba kupasa magazi ni chimo. Magazi kupasa kutandiza aja anthu alibe magazi si chimo si chimo. Those are the things that we have to understand. And again, there are quotes which we read, which were saying that they the highest aim in the sanitarium, we should aim at also doing what? Surgery. You know, surgery involves a lot of things. But as we are relaxed, saying when kupasa maebs. If we want to advance, we want to win also the educated. He says we have to do also what? To incorporate surgery in the sanitarium work. That's what also we looked at all those. So even blood transfusion, if you do not know surgery, you cannot really know how to do blood transfusion. You will not know. So we have to know all that. We have to incorporate all bajafuti bajavana stazari wajati mandani wajati bawa itanati ma lab technician. Kai muzazi babwanji, since now today disease they say is caused by maybe malaria test. Malaria test, although mnatumakidi there's what you venereal diseases. Venereal diseases mzazi babwanji kapena mjani. There's the help of my lab technician, kuta kutandizeni or microbiologist, kuta kutandizeni kuta azive madani ma causes or ma conditions that you are suffering from. So all that, if we try to use all those things, we are not still judging like utona kuta divi vonse voipa, si vonse voipa. We have to be Jesus Christ said we have to be clever as a what? A snake. Yes. Actually, the road tells us actually we are not sheep. The 144,000 are not what? When we began the lesson, we said the 144,000 are not docile. They are not sheep. They are what? They are serpents. So, if when this njoka, in short, when to come, I mean, if we want to be attacked, we have to know what to use at the right time and the right thing to use at that particular time. Okay. We have to know all that. So let me go to here, to others, let me go, causes of disease. Causes of disease, particularly I want to go into the road discussion of what? Of drugs. I don't know if I have it here. Councils on Health, page 37, paragraph 1. Councils on Health, page 37, paragraph 1 to paragraph 2. The first time I read this quote, yes, 37, paragraph 1 to paragraph 2. Councils on Health. The first time I read this quote, I was nenina dabo mninga. Kansi kudora ni chimo. So many have inquired of me, what course should I take to best preserve my health? My answer is cease to transgress the laws of your being. Okay, ati vanthu ananifunsa kuti ningachite bwanji kuti nisunge umoyo wanga. Right, moment. Councils on Health, page 37, paragraph 4, 1 to paragraph 2. Councils on Health 37. Okay. So answer izopasa Ellen White zokamba kuti ati lekani kuchita zani kuphwanya malamulo ya ndani. Ellen White achalingi malamulo kuphwanya malamulo ya Mulungu na zani na health waitana zani mjibana. Chance. Okay. Ati kuphwanya malamulo akamadi ndachita bwanji kuti nikipe nthanzi yanga olo mkhalidwe wabwino wa ero mufuni kuoleka kuphwanya malamulo ya Mulungu munthu angadabu kuti malamulo ya Mulungu abweramo bwanji kuti ine nisungizani nthanzi yanga yabweramo bwanji malamulo ya Mulungu. So meaning akuti ati malamulo ya Mulungu na nthanzi vili pamodzi. Yesu pamene anthu enzo onse anabwera kuli Iye anzana akachirisa enzo kamba kuti ati musachimwe muleko chimo. So meaning kuti ati chimo na kudwala they are inseparable, vili pamodzi, sungavichite separate. So munthu akadwala kulipo kuchita separate kuti ati sungachite separate ati chimo sili involved, it involved. So my answer is cease to transgress the laws of your being, cease to gratify a depraved appetite, eat simple food, dress healthfully, which will require modest simplicity, work healthfully, and you will not be sick. Yes.
I think
understand manje kuti fansi kudwara ni chii so ndeve nachitanda saka chinezi nachitanda saka ndisifuna nifunse so hapana manje nachita understand manje.
Okay. Then it says it is, that is paragraph 2. It says it is sin to be sick. You see now? You see that one? Paragraph 2 of 37. It is sin to be sick. Sorry. Yes, it is a sin to be sick. Adeni chimo kudwala. For all sickness is the result of transgression. At yonse matenda tamene tidwala yachokera kujani kuphwanya malamulo ya zani ya Mulungu yachokera kuchimo. Many are suffering in consequence of the transgression of their parent. At ambiri antu adwala. Adwala chifuka kuti malamulo anaphwanya ni andani makolo yao. Mukumbuka kuti among the 10 commandments, there are only 3 egregious laws. You know that 3 laws that have a terrible case. I'm sorry, 2. But did I say 3? 2 laws that have a terrible case among the 10 commandments. Ma 10 commandments yali 10. Kulichabe malozi yabiri yana zani yana utemberedwe. Ya first ili pa law number za. Ya first ili pa law number za. Ya first ili pa law number za. Pama 10 commandments kuli malozi yabiri yamene yana mutemberero. Ya first law mutemberero case of the 10 commandments. There are only 2 commandments in the 10 commandments that have cases. 2. The first law which has a case is which one? You understand? That's what I'm asking. The one that talks about jealousy, but you have to know what is that commandment. This is Bana. It's the third or the second? Which one? The one that says, I'll visit. Ikambira drogamba kuti imwe mukaphwanya malamulo fulapira phwanya malamulo vana vawo na vana up to the fourth generation akambati kapena apemphera to utu mafanizo apemphera to mafanizo ma idols what will happen ija kesi ija mulungu aza mtemberero azapasa ija isizasiria kuli abayi izasiria futi ku vana vawo vana vawo vana va vana vawo na vana va vana vawo ndiye ni temberero ya number 1. Ya number 2 ndi jamanji ya iri pa fifth commandment jagamba kuti mufuniko ku pasa ulemu makolo mungapasa ulemu makolo then manje ochani maezi yano yazapaka kapera sumupasa ulemu makolo muzafa chani mwamsanga. Okay, so iya ikamba apa pali court ikamba kuti ati ikamba pali chani the third chani ni third commandment maisa confirm bana ni third ka iya ikamba kuti ati vanthu ambiri adwala chifukwa cha chani cha makolo. The second okay, it's the second. It's the second.
Or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
Okay, so mwaona kuti ni number 2. Malamulo ya number 2. Hiyo mungaiverenge futi mujani. Mukairana aina ngamata maybe bizozi wako kesi mozi ya Ten Commandments ni aviri makesi. Ellen wata nasta discuss mkane mo PP. But mo discussion muja anaika kuti ati lamulo manje the core law in the Decalogue, in the 10 Commandments, indeed the core law, the core commandment. Ija lamulo hii mirira pakati kama lamulo yonse. Yai. Esti verenge. Malamulo pakati yo. Yamine pakati pa malamulo yonse. Let me read it. Wait, do I have it here? Let me try to. I don't know the reason why we started with the linking the Decalogue. The 10 Commandments. Do I have 10 Commandments? Yeah. Okay, it's this one. So I want just to look at that one. Okay, yes, it's the last command. So sister, before we even went, she has answered. So the core commandment is the last what? Command. I don't know what she comments. She says that the core command is the last command. It's the one that I just want to read from. Just want to look for the quote. Okay. That is the core command. Igamba kuti to you. So ija commandment ezo kamba ni PP 309 paragraph 5. PP Patriarchs and Prophets 309 paragraph 5. Igamba kuti the 10th commandment strikes at the very root of all what? of all sins. The 10th commandment strikes at the very root of all sin. Kama yonse machimo yachokera kuli chani? Yachokera kuli chani? Kuli ichokera kuli paja pali commandment yaji number 10. Prohibiting the selfish desire from which springs the sinful act. He who, in obedience to God's law, refrains from indulging even a sinful desire for that which belongs to another will not be guilty of an act of wrong toward these fellow creatures. So, aya malamulo tikaphwanya malamulo tentikamba ituza kuti ati ise tizadwala ndeva ntionera apa tizadwala tikaphwanya malamulo ya Mulungu tizadwala. So ko yophwanya malamulo taona amene or the root tikaverenga pali mamorolo tiyangana kuti atichokera pana malamulo ya number 10. Badi malamulo inasoka malamulo yanasoka tayaona kuti malamulo ya number 2 na number chani 5. So Eleanor itakamba many are suffering in consequence of the transgression of their parents. They cannot be censored for their parents' sin, but it is nevertheless their duty to ascertain wherein their parents violated the laws of their being. Which has entailed upon their offspring so miserable an inheritance, and wherein their parents' habits were wrong. They should change their course and place themselves by correct habits in a better relation to health. So akamba kuti vaja amene adwala aja vana tikapezeka kuti tidwala matenda esi azivika anachoka kumakolo tifunika ise tisakile muzi yakufunika osakira kuti ati why tidwala yana inachokera kuti matenda to ascertain the cause. Rod kamba kuti ati tifunika kuti tishite chani at right prescription of or diagnosis of disease. Actually, using a word diagnosis of disease stems from breaking how many laws? 3 laws, 3 laws. The first law is breaking the what? Breaking the first 4 commandments. The second law is breaking the 6 commandments. Then the third law is breaking the what? The healthy law. So all diseases are attached to these what? 3 laws. Yonse matenda pano padziko yalichabe under how many? Malozi yangati? Atatu. Disrespect, not kulemekeza Mulungu, not kulemekeza ndani muntu. Ayakapena sulemekeza muntu chisulu zilemekeza naweka. Muziba na not kulemekeza ndani, not kulemekeza malozi ya zani yonkhala ise. Physical laws or health laws ya udongo. Okay. That's the quote. So there's a reason why I'm attaching this, I'm emphasizing on this. Okay. So here it says, that is from entering wage. I didn't put the quote. I didn't put the code, but it's from the causes of disease. It says disease has been identified can help me with the quote. It says disease has been identified in 3 different categories. Disease has been identified in 3 different categories. The first category, matenda ya pezeka mu ya tatu chape. Ya tatu. Vipeza siya ya tatu mu vintu vamene timachita. Matenda. Yonse matenda ya pezeka mu vintu vitatu vamene timachita. First, hivi vintu vitatu ni vitani wakama manja ati hereditary. Hereditary vija vintu vamene tichani ija second commandment itaverenga ija. Igamba kuti ati vija valentina chita vija tinachimwa kupempeza mafanizo vana watu wazavitenga na bebe. So ija hereditary ndi jamaa jani wana watu wavisitani wacha inherit watengako ya jamatenda kumuzitima kama kuti ati kapena mashabe miazi ya mashabe makoro wajenzo nzena mashabe iwo wakafa bebe iwo viza kutani viza kukonga kairezo pempeza majani mafanizo waigwira manje. Okay, entering wage yambera pa 9. So igamba kuti ati matenda or mu medical field bagamba kuti ati matenda yali categorize mu vintu vingati vitatu. Number 1 ni hereditary, kuli ma hereditary diseases yambiri vamagamba ti olo example ati asthma ni chani vamaitana TB na wewe vamagamba ni hereditary disease but ikana road ikana TB si chani si hereditary disease, si lifestyle what condition. TB naona ati mwana bado na TB so road ikana kuli ati kuli venangu wanasokoneza kama kuti ati TB ni hereditary disease kuli ma diseases wanasokoneza kuti itana ati ni ma diseases yochokera ku makolo. Example ni TB. So siko sewa neme na ichokera kumatani kumakolo na waja vinango bana odabwa tipenango anabadwa kantu pachani apa meno ama itara kazani me yapa mponga mbiga awe apa mponga mbiga hapa so diabetes mellitus type 1. Diabetes mellitus type 1 which are many ya not zina taibala kama pali diabetes mellitus type 1 ijaye kama insulin dependence no insulin so ijaye kama kutadichoka kumajani kumakolo not diabetes mellitus type 2 ni boza hiyo. Diabetes mellitus type 2 si choka kumakolo kulija sugar ichoka kumakolo ni diabetes mellitus type jani type 1 wakamba there is no insulin anapeza kutali mulibe insulin mwana so ambomula sajani insulin. So hii kama hereditary diseases ni chivuka muntu anaphwanya malamulo yosajani yo konkera mulo yosani yo chita respect mulo 4 commandments. You understand? If I have hereditary balibe nzeru za so kuchalo. This is the thing that they are lacking, you know. In the hospital, whichever person does not have that knowledge to know that muntu kapena dwala whichever hereditary disease broke the first 4 commandments. Sazim. And therefore, it's not a need for them to ask for forgiveness from God for the law they broke. Maigira. So kulinango vaitana ti communicative disease. Communicative disease ndija tinamu na wagwira aba nikagwira then matenda yawangena friends lijani jati COVID. COVID or flu. Communicative. So communicative igamba kuti akutati I communicative ni matenda yachanyo if kapena stiki pinga majani malamulo yosa love your neighbors you love yourself, you know why? So if kapena sini konda iwe fuda hizi kondera yene matenda nzambo wala ni majani communicative diseases. Papasa example ya Miriam paja natoka na Mose anamtukana ati Mose ati ya unakwatira chizipora cha black chi Midianite ungakwatira mkazi wa so. What happened to Zipporah? I mean to Miriam. What happened to Miriam? Anakara na jani na leprosy na makati. Ambotuka na brother wake atuona wakwatira chimuntu cha black cho ipa chizipora. But haiva arakuti ati ambuye wake Abraham izana kwatira Ketura ezeri na mwana Media. From Media ndiye munachokera nani? Zipora. Nimezeri wachi bululu wajo. Same lineage, but wambotuka na ana wake. You understand? Oh, okay. Izaiverenga yo vesi. Bafunsa kutati Miriam ana dwala leprosy chifuka cha enving ya ofisi ya Moses olo chifuka izana ambo kutuka na nane kutuka na Moses because those who were punished because of having the office tiba kubuka ni ndani Nadab and Abib and Korah, Dathan and Abiram. Korah, Dathan and Abiram. These are the ones who were, Dathan and Abiram, the earth swallowed them. You understand the story? Remember the story, Then Korah, what happened? He was punished, Okay. But the children, his daughters, they were given the land. We know the story. So, question wafunza kuda na shituwa jani tizaona hapo. I think ilimo. Then inango ni self-created disease. Self-created. Kizipangira, ma diseases yozipangira ndiye ajachoka mchani. Mulo ya vagudia. Physical laws. Diseases ndiye ambozipangira. Example, kapena tienda, tongo enda every day. Then tizi bunfura pamozi na pamozi. Tongo zibunthura pamembaja pamozi na pamozi tongo zibunthura pakwendo pachikumo pamozi na pamozi tongo zibunthura first day pazaleka kuwawa pama then waendo zibunthura po mutu azichita chijamai chironda chizambo chani pazaleka kuwawa then chironda chizaleka kupola paja pawasichita uzibunthura po pamene pamozi na pamozi ndeva ndi machitira isi tikambo fruta mbochita break malozi ya health tikudya maybe vakudya sivifunika tupinga bwere yazitandiza kuti ati ichose ma poison then futi wake up manje thupi manje izalema kuisa chani kuzitandiza chosa ma poison. Okay. That is self-created diseases or acquired. This being so, then there must be three kinds of sin. So kulimachimo yangati ya tatu. Okay, 3 laws to transgress. 2 of these laws are found in the Decalogue. Ona ya malozi yaviri yapezi mchani tayagamba kutala, right? Okay, Decalogue. Then the first prohibits sinning against God. That is the first 4 commandments. And the second against our fellow men. The third, therefore, is the law of health. The law which forbids transgressing against our bodies. Okay. Then it says, plainly then, sinning against God brings in its work a hereditary what? Case. The kind that passes from father to son unto the third and fourth what? Generation of them that hate me. Tayiverenga kudala is the second what? Second commandment. Exodus 20 verse 5. Saith the Lord, and sinning against our fellow men brings communicative diseases shown in the fact that when Miriam sinned against her brother Moses, she was stricken with the contagious disease, leprosy. So this story is found in Numbers 12. So Hash is asked the question saying, what sin now did Miriam sin? Okay, she wants to know.
Yes, Numbers chapter 12, verse 1. It's actually a connection of the two. Yeah, they laughed at the woman, and also they thought that God cannot only be speaking through Moses. So both are involved. Let me read, then we'll be able to hear. Numbers chapter 12, verse 1, and Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman. Verse 2, and they said, hath God indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. So we've seen from verses 1 and 2 that both reasons are involved. The first one was that they were laughing at Moses for marrying an Ethiopian. And then secondly, they boasted to say, is it true that God only speaks to us through Moses? So I thought maybe we understand that one. So Numbers chapter 4 helps us to understand that chief amongst Miriam's getting the leprosy was her laughing at Miriam. And we are told that Aaron was only spared because he was more like the high priest. Otherwise, he would have also suffered the same fate as Miriam.
Okay. Maona, so kuchimwa against your neighbor, kuchimwira against mjinyande ni Miriam anachimwa against Moses. Okay. Anachimwira Mose, Miriam. Chifukwa chana achimwira Mose, Miriam, what happened? Miriam anachajani anampasa makate. Anadora jani leprosy, Miriam. That's what happened. So that leprosy, we know, is a contagious what? Disease. It's a communicative disease. Yes.
We can come close.
There are certain diseases.
Yeah.
For example, there are certain diseases, for example, malaria. So, in which category do they fall in? And which sin do someone commit to have malaria? Because I believe these researchers, they have said there are certain areas you cannot find the female mosquito which cause malaria. Like here in Lusaka, you cannot find the female mosquito. No wonder most of the people believe they get bitten by the mosquitoes, but they don't get sick. But in rural areas, definitely you get sick. So which category does it fall, and which sin do someone commit to have malaria? Because it's common in rural areas.
Okay, so false agudati manya malaria caused by a plasmodium mosquito. Anyway, it depends which plasmodium, because kuli malaria, plasmodium, anopheles mosquito, kuli vivax, kuli tuatoku Congo tuja tuma plasmodium mutuziva tuka kuluma kuja tame ya shiwaenda kulitwa Lusaka twevyo tukudwalisa malaria yapa ngono tuyata ku Congo tukakuluma ufuniko testing ako kaimfa pang'ono kapera tunakuluma mpoli kaya toja pali ndiye tunatengesa dona ndiye anotabwereko mu Africa namuluma nafuna kumwalira nakumwa madrugs kuendereratu sanabweremo mu Africa choka paja taku Congo so afunsa kuti nisitachabegesi kaile malaria imene ichama ningi nyakuja but there's a record that is anatola malaria then anabwerera then anakamati pamanje sinzamwa madrugs na koti na kupeza koti jayo kama ngamweko madrugs na kumwa madrugs ya kumwa madrugs so manje niyolimba yefunso kaili tikaverenga pali ma communicative hereditary na self acquired disease ndi malaria ili pati ai ndi anafunsa malaria ili pati kuzena ngoma ika malaria so malaria ili pati tendinga hii Tiankani.
Basically, you find that what is that the increase of these diseases or the coming in of what you are calling parasitical things, it is because we sinned against God. So you see that all in all, because so the fact that these things are happening to us, it is because we sinned. Now, when you look at the interesting aspect of question about Brother Zimba, Yokambakuti, you have mosquitoes in Lusaka, you have mosquitoes in the rural areas, but the rural area agakuluma ufunika ushtekwanji unkali na malaria because they are prevalent there in anopheles female anopheles mosquitoes maybe Brother Keagan at DMB. So you can see there that kutikambe like he said that una chimwala mulaso chizankala chofuta because mulungu ndiye tisaikali kama mwende munkale mu countryside, so you are obeying God quite right. Now the question is, what other things should we? Maybe there's something that we need to know what we should do when we get to the rurals. But all in all disease we know that it stems from the transgression of the law of God. The multiplicity of it is another thing. Just like muonati with the my grains yaja, mwachita stock my grains yaja. Mnapela tiamina chamankwala muikamu with the time yachita generate do to kali kuchira pamuzo chita prevent futi mobwera futi mufaka yena just like that. So mulungu pajama kamba mkaenda mshepa zote mwamene mwenta limwe jima tuzati chamene mulungu afuna nso tisazingana ulesa to tinalima tizakamba kudiapo cha. So you find that in a way mulungu akamba ti nishitsakwanyala muno tizangana wa ulesa simwamene wasokole. So itakuta tibwechitseka kategoriza tapwanyala muno bwanji ndipo tipaza pizika tilipovuta. But tizizo tsemato matenda kuti yabwere nishitapwanya chani la muno. But the question is specifically on either cumulative, self-acquired or hereditary. So munga pa malaria pali hereditary nishiachokapo because you sitati baja makolo ndi waleta baja mosquito muja kwaleti but pali self-acquired tili mu area mwamene muli mosquito. So we can say that we have acquired that malaria because we are in that environment. So we can determine it as self-acquired, or it can also be communicative because then environment no mosquito, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm just trying to put it into perspective that we understand that inga fitting. I thought I'll just start that. Thank you. Oh, brother. You can sit it. Just adding on. Maybe we'll read something from Ministry of Healing on page 127, paragraph 2. Pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power. These are the true remedies. Every person should have a knowledge of natural medical agencies and how to apply them. It is essential both to understand the principles involved in the treatment of sick and to have practical training that will enable one rightly to use this knowledge. Okay, and then let me read something also from that one of what? Ministry of Healing, page 127. Yeah. So maybe at another time you can go through just maybe let me read something again from Entering Wedge. I think it also touches a bit on the question that Sister Olivia had asked. So I'll read from page 9. Plainly then, sinning against God brings in its wake a hereditary case, the kind that passes from father to son, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, saith the Lord. And sinning against our fellow men brings communicative diseases, shown in the fact that when Miriam sinned against her brother Moses, she was stricken with a contagious disease, leprosy. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Thus it was that when Haman built the gallows upon which to hang Mordecai, he himself was hanged on them. And when Daniel was unjustly cast into the lion's den, his enemies were devoured by the hungry beast. Okay, it goes on. So from the same, we're learning even from the unfolding of the lesson that there are laws that govern the world and principles even in health. So it is it is a breaking of those laws that causes a dysfunction or disease or any ailment in our lives. So we're given physical examples of someone doing something to someone, and yet they get for lack of better term, I'll say they get the punishment. So it is a principle to say, whatever you sow, you reap. What goes up must come down. So the thing is that some of the diseases come as a result of what we sow, then we reap. Like it follows a needle and a thread. Pewalasa, ochosa, so sorry. So from the same we sing say, the true remedies that we have are those which are given, and breaking any of them in one way or another is going to cause a disease. One will come as malaria, another will come as headache, another will come as kwendoiva, but all in all, it is a breaking of those principles, those laws. So we're admonished to say sunlight, rest, trust in God, etc., are that which we need for our remedy in the treatment of the disease. So breaking any of them. So we can say we rest on the Sabbath, but we don't drink water. We're still doing the same. We're still shooting ourselves in the feet. If we have our diet checked, but we don't have enough rest, we don't do this and we don't exercise, still we're going around in circles. We're doing the same wrong mistake that the other person we're looking at doing. So overall, as we're learning, I think it's high time we become practical even the more to learn these things and today put them in practice. And that's how I think that's how God wants us to be, because from the examples given, look at Daniel. What disease is Daniel being thrown into the lion's den that the enemies get eaten instead? What can you categorize that? Just a principle to say what we reap is what we sow, and the results to show from what we reap, and that's what we sow. So I think that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
So maona ajani mwankiwa kuti atijani iyo matenda yolumiwa na mosquito kapena ni vivasi o malaria olo yakuti iyo kuchani anopheles mosquito omukazi oyo amene aluma kuyipa then akupasa iyo malaria yongeresa kuti ufuna kufa. Cause ni self-acquired disease. Self-acquired. 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 Breaking the physical journey, the physical laws.
The thing of maintaining our environment is the same, because some of the diseases that come as a result of also not maintaining our environment. Find that maybe the water we're drinking, it's not even necessarily mosquito that bites you, but even just the water itself, like we've already said, overworking also causes malaria, some degree, sort of malaria, I don't know, for lack of a better term. So yeah, just want to put up.
Okay, so naona manje kuti ichoka kuti ichoka ku self-acquired. So ija punsenze lyolimba taipanya with group work, taipanga simple yaankiwa. Okay. So another one. It says, painaperera banani azimba ni pitiriza. I'm still entering which says it is therefore a never failing fact that if one molests his neighbor or intends to do so, the harm will fall on himself. And if he harms his neighbor's children, his own children will suffer as a result. The diseases, though which are not inherited, the sinner himself creates by sinning against his own body. The diseases which are not inherited, the sinner himself creates by sinning against his own body. Sinning against a neighbor or against oneself, nevertheless, is indirectly sinning against God also. Okay. If one is suffering from a hereditary disease for which his parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents alone are guilty, he is, of course, helpless to do much of anything in the line of complete recovery, be it by dieting or by using drugs. He may, however, be able to control the disease or even to overcome it by being strictly obedient to the laws of God. He may, however, be able to control the disease or even to overcome it by being strictly obedient to the laws of God, knowing that nothing in the world will effect a cure for such illness, but prayer if God's wisdom so decrees. So kama matenda yanachokera ku makolo ma drugs siyanga polisi ndine ndaverengera kokoti na chani singa polisi na mapemphero siyanga polisi okay. I mean, not na mape na chani hili la majani navakudia So kama tikapena matenda yanachokera kujani is a hereditary disease, sinning against God. Kudya vabwino dati kudya vegetarian food na chani na mankhwala madrug siyanga polisi, but tikashita live in strict obedience kuli malozi ya Mulungu na chani na pemphero tekapo na pemphero, Mulungu angatiche chani angati polisi itaverengera court. Okay, ati aja matenda yaja yamene siyana chokere kuphwanya malamulo ya kuphwanya not kusta disrespect Mulungu, yamene siyana chokere kuja matenda ife timazipangira teka tikamati ife the sinner himself creates by sinning against his own. Ife timazipangira teka aja machimo yamene sitina chimwire Mulungu, matenda yachoka through not vija, ife timazipangira teka dafa timazondana teka tizondana. Okay. On the other hand, if one is suffering from a disease which has been communicated to him or that is communicative due to one sinning against his fellow men, then to remove the disease once and forever, he must repent of his sin, practice the golden rule, all things whatsoever he would that men should do to you, do he even so to them. Matthew chapter 7 verse 12. So akambati aja machimo matenda yamene abwera through communicative or through msajani kuzonda mzanga or kuzonda the community, kulibana ngo kambati chacheni muzonda naturally or to exploit one hivi vimabwera. So if tika practice golden rule ni kukonda kwambo mai kukonda mzako amene zikondera hivi then manje ya matenda yazaza jani yazasira nitaverengera hapa. Then to remove the disease once and forever, he must repent of his sin. Repent taleka then must practice the golden rule. But if the disease be neither hereditary nor communicative, then it must be self-created, acquired by oneself, by violating the laws of health, by not living right in one respect or another. The wise will therefore correct their habits of living, make sure that they do not sin against God or against their fellow men, that they sleep, breathe, eat, drink, and work correctly and religiously, and if there is a cure at all, they will find it. You understand? So akama tifunika vonse tikazisunga. Then manje it happens that vonse tisunga yonse amalamulo tingazani tisunga. Okay, ndete ntienda pansi. Let me here. The cause of each type of disease having now been defined, the sufferer of any of the three kinds of diseases may without difficulty determine which one of the three laws he is transgressing, and as a result paying the penalty it imposes. If he is afflicted with complications of diseases, though he must be breaking all of God's laws, if he is afflicted with complications of diseases, though he must be breaking all of God's laws, let him henceforth quit sinning in any line if he expects to recover and stay well too. This is the final diagnosis of all diseases. Stick close to nature and nature will stick close to you. Okay. Then now it happens that tisunga yonse man, tasunga malamulo yonse. What happens? We discover that now that's when now the cause, the time for drugs and time for what? comes in. Understand? Time for drugs comes in. It says, if the sufferers 40, if the sufferers, this is entering wage page 16, paragraph 2. If the sufferers 40 diet is the cause of his ailments. So if me, I'm suffering, maybe I'm suffering from diabetes mellitus type 2, okay, nidwala matenda ya sugar, okay, ndine, it's me who is at fault, ndine nalengisa kuti jani, okay. See. Whichever nidwala matenda, ayo matenda, ndine nili at fault. You understand? Maybe in most cases, in our day, it is then not no kind or amount of drug can cure him. In most cases, in our day, it is then no kind or amount of drug can cure him. So akamba oro mumpasa vima drug. Sizampolesa. Ndiye kambira. Kairi, him is the one who is at fault. For instance, it's him not eating right that is causing the disease. Then wakamba, yeah, we had a diabetes, first mpase jane. Down you, apparent metapomia. Muzampasa jane. Mukampasa ija oro manje ikankara advance ya kwera maningi sugar. First mambo moja hapa. Ikambati vija sivizampolesa, azanda chabe mumpeleka chabe siroli kuimfa. Pangono kuimfa sivizampolesa. Yet when something goes wrong with one's organism, he generally runs to a doctor, not to find and to remove the cause, but to be cured. Okay, while the cause remains and while it brings him closer and closer to the what? To the grave. That is the trend. Most of us, when we fall sick, we don't first ascertain the cause. Tend to chase to the doctor to find a cure. And if he is not given drugs, he dislikes the doctor. Why not check up on your daily diet and habits of living? Why take drugs when you need to take water? Okay. For instance, ukukubawa, veva zaendo checking that maybe my kidney, wazapeza much maybe proteinuria paka. Aku checking ani mumanja manje kumwache madrag ndiaza nipudesa. He said manje uende kuma watermelon na mazi kazimwa. Iwo manje ndo kwamba olimbikira mayati madrugs. Waibarako pa manzi kumwa. Why take drugs when you need to take water, fresh air, sunshine, the right kinds of food, to exercise or perhaps to clean up your home, your body and your surroundings? Okay. Continuing to read, entering verse 17, paragraph 1 to 2 says, let it be now understood that anyone living on a proper diet, on a poor diet, let it be now understood that anyone living on a poor diet or in unpleasant surroundings and unsanitary conditions is subject to disease in one form or another. Just as is a plant that is planted in poor soil and unconducive surroundings. Okay. Then too.
Or we see that it is unconducive what? Surroundings. So it is better we prepare where to stay. Ngati mitengo msapakisa wa mosquito mwapi ngakarabatari. So it means you are reducing the risk of my infections. Because it is true maona wantu wamakala ngakala kusema area. Venangu wazambudwara maningi, venangu swadwara kundwa kuzimba mkwambata maybe ndiva lengesa. Kansi it is the way we are cared for our surroundings. Yeah, like I remember, Brother Masuzi, the first time that we came to the camp after Kanyumba Kasila, we ate mango, baba. Not even one fly. Not even one. Could you eat mango? Mutana, but not even after finishing, not even one fly came and stayed there. Wanakuwa waletako che manyuwai. Wanaleta ma droppings ya ng'ombe acha. Wayafa kache wafunika na plastic. Wafunse. There was an invasion. Wanakuwa munga ni bazingulugai. Wambiri maningi waini. Are you see? So we can tell na oh, I think this has brought this. So we can now know where they can be put away from the sun. It means we chase those. So basically, these are things that practically we have learned. So it was something that we were shocked, and we were a lot of us. Imagine Mukudi was not even one fly. Then now we went after about a month. After about a month. So manje wanaita che banata manyu wacha mniaja yangu. A lot of flies. Whether eating or not eating, wakuzimburu. So we now understand that it truly which is saying that unconducive surroundings, yeah, unsanitary conditions or surroundings, these are things that tend to bring quite a number of diseases. Thank you.
Thank you. So, then two, one must remember that unbalanced food, regardless of quality or quantity, is poor food. Then two, one must remember that unbalanced food, regardless of quality or quantity, I don't understand. Okay. Yeah. So then too, one must remember that unbalanced food, regardless of quality or quantity, is poor food, and as too much fertilizer kills the plant, so too much food kills the man. Too much of anything is as bad as is too little. Too much of anything is as bad as is too little. Illness, therefore, is only a warning of one's improper habits of living. So this is a proper definition of illness. It says it's a what? An alarm, a warning of one's improper habits of living. But alas, who can understand? Actually, this is an exclamation. It says, but alas, who can understand? Who is taking heed? This is entering page 17, paragraph 1. What else can the cause of diseases that are not hereditary or communicative be but wrong living, malnutrition, or unclean flesh food? Leviticus 11. Overeating, poor elimination, insufficient poor elimination, like all the elimination methods are not working. You don't go to the toilet, sweating, and other many things. You're not peeing, sutunda, bueno. Poor overeating, poor elimination, insufficient exercise, lack of sunshine and fresh air, living in filth, neglecting to drink enough water between meals, or perhaps smoking or chewing tobacco, habitually using coffee, tea, or some other stimulant that whips up the body to the last ounce of energy. To be sure, such diseases as cancer are the result of wrong living. If such is not the cause of the sufferer's illness, then the last and final cause, as referred to before, is sin against the decalogue. Okay, so it says cancer is as a result of a wrong living. Okay, cancer. It's self-acquired disease. It says, continuing 18, paragraph 1 to 2 says, nature teaches that if a tree becomes sickly from within rather than from without, then to spray it with any kind of drug will only hasten its death. Nature teaches that if a tree becomes sickly from within rather than from without, then to spray it with any kind of drug will only hasten its death, waste the drug and the time and one's energy. The human body is no exception. If the disease is from eternal cause, then what good will it do to try to remove it by the use of drugs? Let me repeat. If the disease is from internal cause, then what good will it do to try to remove it by the use of drugs? So internal cause, the use of drugs will not do what? Will not work, according to this. In such a case, drugs will not remove the cause, but rather do greater harm and hasten the end.
Like we studied, you remember when we started this study of drugs, what these drugs do, they fool your mind or your nervous system that whatever alarm was sounded that such a part is not okay, vachitachimunga wakablokinga kuti kaleka kupereka message otati chovava chikalipo. So you kind of feel better when the condition is what? Is worsening. Malaria, malaria plus. Because the drugs you are taking, science otandiza kuti yachite eradicate malaria kuti chaireta mumuviri na chanichiita mumuviri. But what you are doing is you are deadening the sensibilities yatubia kwamba sichichita exist, but ijapeno iriko ati achita munga chachita suppress. So vambi chimangala timbera bwino kasi chita che suppress chani pen. Osaziva tikanzija disease tipas opportunity chani izikula. So as a result that we are nearing the timapendera kuimfa ikatona munga tipola. Then umaona pena mbaya bafika doctor kama hapa pale bafika, there is nothing what we can nukuembekeza chako. What do they need? Because they have seen that actually the disease outgrown vichavaneva kwanza na kusta suppress na mankwala bit. Now that is why God affirms that chawamapo mwaziwa cause atife vambiri so waenda kuchipatara doctor pakuza tata kamwe manzi atitima kalipa manikai kuchipatara. Okay, sometimes nina bwana anaona ati akansi na mulungu amatimbere chifundo monga muzambe ati tenda ati boma siwo damankwala iti pulumusa. Mulungu ati yanga inewe utati vasankale napo vivapanga mkana sana addicted to wrong thing. Siviwapolesa manje ife chikuwa tinajaira cha tukaenda kuja wakulembele then manje wapela nawe vaona kapena akazipa eka prescription ngati una ndalama ndio vikula vimankwala vili vyenu vyamba usabwanje kukuononga. So that's why apa Mungu akamba kuti angangale mumwe mankwala yambiri bwanji zivana ati simuzasasani simuzapola. You see, the doctor wamambe sana chifundo in the sense that they take time nicely kufunza kuno bwini unamba liti kudwala umvera chani mumaona but mumalo mwakuti manje vangale pansi vambagana vaneweza kamba wakigano kamba iyi wisdom antiphunzira ivevi valivyo kamba to iyi disease yanakamba chanchimaireta ni chani anatenga kumakolo olo iyayi vevi panozaka kufunzako che vamakolo olo chani ni matenda monga asthma or sometimes na TB ndio za kufunza kushe mfamily mwana kuliko wali na asthma or kuliko na TB but ayasala aya vamayangana che ukabolo vena anguswa kuyangana vanoonekera ulondora chabe ndivera maybe mchest mubaba chani then abwera chabe akalemba twano wamuuza then abwayamba che prescription alemba che vimankwala kwa kagule mankwala. You remember the story wanatuza ati somebody pamulembera vimankwala vikali then aenda kugula drugstore then iwa drugstore bamuyangana bwa aya mankwala vanimanda kumwa ni wandani hata ndine mtu anachani ati ai kabauze ni doctor ati mankwala ni yakali manini abwerera uja mtu atofika a doctor mwandembera mankwala utini gule vanuza ati ni yakali na condition ina at doctor kama sorry you get that then abwa alemba ena futi alemba futi yakali futi abwerera kuli uja muntu to manje bachinja nilembera ati imwe nishi doctor yaganza chani ndawa naye nakulembera naye vya chani yali too strong abwerera uja muntu futi doctor futi repeated sorry I don't know what I was thinking alemba futi yena are you sure you can go ahead and buy medicine? In fact, wisdom demanded that man should have just asked. Panepana bwerera wandomuza doctor ati sorry. Wakomuza na second ati sorry. Simanamuza tata I think he will know better than that person. What should I take? Than going back and forth. Are you seeing? Yeah, that was the best way. But uja because anayo pharmacy tata awakai wanachetekera ati panika vala duster coat. Ndio nozo ati ndiazo kulemba mankwala. Now, we've seen that inspiration time and again. Like those quotes you gave us, Brother Keagan, nizo tu that vamene vapeleka maningi vantu kumanda ni mankwala. Are you seeing that? Vamene tikumwa ndiye vapeleka vantu kumanda ndiye vipaya vantu kuchira na matenda atimayo. Thank you.
So let me just continue reading. It says, yes, Bana.
It's something from, I don't know if you know, there's a book called Lessons from the Miracle Doctors by John Barrett. Yeah, he talks about the average American, maybe on the mama 15 per day. You find that only 2 are dealing with the actual disease. Then 13 of them are dealing with the effects of the medicine he drinks from trying to treat the actual disease. And from the same, you find that building on those medication leads to complication of other parts of the body and causing more harm than good. And like what Peter is saying,
Complications outside the disease also.
And the situation even becomes worse and worse off. And like the Peter is saying, it is from the same that also learned to say, as going forth, we'll see that even the medication itself is for lack of better term, is all total not good, rubbish, because it's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's actually a try and error. Maybe because of time, or the given a scenario of what happened to my nephew. We just had a funeral, and I happened to spend a lot of time there at the hospital, and I noticed this, and I think it's high time really as well learning to really put this in practice and take it serious, because it is here now. It is here now. This we're talking about. All the people are learning about drugs and how poisonous they are. I've seen it personally. I've seen it firsthand, and I think it's time that we start putting this through, because the lesson we're getting here. Imagine if that person who was selling just gave, say, manano kufika kunyumba apeleka achuka rash, and then they go back, they give him medication for rash. For rash, and then eventually, person dies. We had a cousin coming from Copper Belt with cancer. Every time she comes back for chemotherapy, she's going back worse off until she died from the same. So I think I'm personally appreciating this lesson, and I'm hoping we're all doing the same and we're seeing it from that angle. So it's also a good book. The lessons from Miracle Doctors also explaining on the same, and just so to print it out for our lesson. Thank you.
You have it online, you can share them.
I had copy. I was trying to check on it for online there, but guys, I think I know Bula at Amazon. I'm not sure if they have one for this. I'll try to pull it out. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Let me continue reading. It says, if it is not possible to keep water, if it is not possible to keep a water-cooled engine from overheating when the radiator is empty, and if nothing but to fill the radiator with water will cure the trouble, then why should it be possible to cure a diseased body without curing the cause? Stop and think. Repeat. If it is not possible to keep a water-cooled engine from overheating when the radiator is empty, and if nothing but to fill the radiator with water will cure the trouble, then why should it be possible to cure a diseased body without curing the cause? Stop and think. Radiator, mulibe manzi, chapya, chiradiator. Then wakama, chidachizizirika bwanji. Kapena mulibe mazi muja, sizingazizire. Kama wekamu mazi paja manje ndechizizira. Chikazizira, then maya tuza, mwaona chazizira. Okay? Manje ganizani manje. Muyimirire na kuganiza kuti ati thupi ya munthu isewenza bwanji. Thupi ya munthu isewenza bwanji. Ati sanamwe mazi munthu ati munthu apenikira. Naye vathamanga ine penikira imanithandiza maningi. Maoganzi ya baba. Achani, wena kuli matenda yambiri maningi ati na matemzi kuti ati hemeturia ukameja bati ukaenda ku hospital akalija manager matenda zacha advance kuli matema hapa asasuza temwe yeah tem, and it was caused by simple thing. So it says there are diseases which attack even the healthiest and best cared for what? For plants. So this is you remember I asked a question. Okay, what happens if now you keep all the three laws? All the three laws, you're keeping them. Then you're attacked by some condition. So this is the answer. It says there are diseases which attack even the healthiest and the best cared for plants. Okay? For example, when a tree that is planted in the best of soils and is well cared for becomes infested with insects or disease, then no matter what one does with the soil, he cannot thereby cause the pestilence to disappear. And if the tree is not sprayed with drugs that will exterminate the disease, the tree dies. Nzeru za njoka zifunika kusta apply. If the tree is not sprayed with drugs, imagine that the tree is best cared for in a good environment, but it happens that it is infested. no matter what you can do to clean the environment or what, it will not help the tree. But if you spray it with drugs, the tree will not die. It's bitter. This one, those people who say, oh, Papa drugs. You are entangling yourself. That's what other people would say. This is not entanglement. Okay, what is important? What is important? To lose the tree or to lose one's life for the sake of your stubbornness or for the sake of you saying we will not give drugs. Okay, because not giving drugs in that predicament will not save that person. Therefore, you are going to lose the person. What is more important? The life of the person or the principle of not giving drug? You do not even know how to manufacture life. Your principle will perish in your head. Let me continue. VTH. In like manner, if one's morals, now he was using a mundane example top, then now down he says, is he actualizing it to human beings? He says, if one's morals, morals is to do with the 10 commandments. They are right. The morals, he keeps the 10 commandments. The diet and hygiene have been faultless, and still are when he takes sick. So everything is okay. So meaning that this person is keeping the 3 what? The 3 laws. The first 4, the second 6, and the health laws he keeps. They are right. Then he becomes what? He becomes sick. And if his ailment is not hereditary, he's repeating. You remember that it is the repeat to say that a person is suffering from morals. He's not suffering from the moral causes. It's the same as hereditary. Because the morals is the Decalogue, the 10 Commandments. And if his ailment is not hereditary, then no matter what more he does with his diet, he will realize no healing virtues from it. Drugs are his best remedy if prayer fails. So, according to this quote, it tells you saying that, I don't know if, let me ask it, okay, so that I involve the audience. According to this quote, is this quote allowing you to take drugs when you are the one at fault? Yes, I'm involving the audience. Is this quote allowing you to take drugs when you are the one at fault? No, it is not. Yeah, the quote is very straight. He says that if your morals are correct, your diet is correct, everything is correct, then you fall sick. And again, prayer fails. Your what? Your best solution is what? Drugs. But okay, me, I fall sick. And it's my fault. Then I find this quote. Then I go and take drugs. That's not what the quote is saying. That's not what the quote is saying. It brings us into a predicament in that actually it is when you check, you think it through. It will be impossible for us, because most of the diseases that we suffer, most of the diseases that we suffer are from the result of what? Of sin. Okay, not from our fault. From our fault. Most of the diseases are from our fault. Okay, so it brings you to a point that whether you like it or not, you will not use drugs unless otherwise. Because if I ask again, I challenge, saying, okay, which person you know that suffered from a disease which he was not at fault? Or in our lives, do we know of a disease that we suffered that we were not at fault? Then we resorted to drugs. You understand? Huh? You understand? From your sister, they are not at fault. You did not violate against. Communicative.
Now the question is, where did they violate? That's the question. Yeah, you see. So it could be because Jagambi maybe Kadoti. So maybe Bangago carry somehow. Or Bakana is a good moon. Scenario. So, yeah, you can be coming through. A scenario where one yeah, you start
Something scenario where one is neural accident, then the injury, then the disease peaks from the cell.
Okay, yeah. So there are those now where this can apply. Remember, there are situations that this can apply. For instance, you are in the road accident, or there are times in the road accident where it's chakula such time. Okay, for them to remove it, they have to give you anesthesia to numb the pain, to remove this, and to operate. Drugs are going to apply. Drugs were invented for traumatic conditions, injuries, okay, such conditions. They will apply. But now, in the case that you are at fault, understand? You are at fault. In the case that you are at fault, what will happen? Because, yes, according to the court. Because even the same court, it will begin now to explain. It begins now to explain, says, if a person is easy, let me get it. There's in like manner. Okay, I've read this one. If his ailment is not hereditary, then no matter what more he does with his diet, he will realize no healing virtue from it. Drugs are his best remedy if prayers fail. If prayer fails. Again, if a healthy and well cared for horse takes sick, drugs of some kind are obviously the only possible cure. Emphasis, if a healthy and well cared, it's a repetition. A healthy and well cared for horse takes sick, drugs of some kind are obviously the only possible cure. Thus, if the daily living of a human being is faultless, daily living of the human being is faultless, and yet he takes sick, then outside of prayer, what can he do but resort to what? To drugs. For example, is it not true that one starving for food cannot be spared by taking in water, air, or something other than food? And is it not also true that one's broken and distorted arm cannot be set in place and healed right by dieting? You know, the bones has been dislocated. Then you start now dieting. That is illogical. Then you say there's a quote. You understand? Then it says, cannot be set in place and healed right by darting, poticing, or massaging, or by anything of the like. Nothing will do the trick, of course, but a competent physician to set the broken bones in place. So you've seen here it is telling you in the places, in the time when these can be effected. Okay. So, and there's a letter attached to this. A letter attached to this. There's only 4 minutes, but the letter is long. I think Wapiri read it. Huh? So the others now who started now saying that, I only have 4 minutes. Huh? The others now who started saying, no, this drug, others they saying, because it was when they read it, says, no, this cannot be actual drugs. I think this was the, maybe some, he didn't understand. Maybe he meant herbs here in this code.
Did I share? I mean, the letter that you brother wrote on drugs.
Huh?
I didn't. Okay, then I will share. I think sister, I don't know. I'll try it and check if I changed the phones, but I used to have your number, so I think I have it. I will share as well.
Okay, so
you see what brother Otis wrote on this when he's mentioning drugs, because people thought that he did not mean this drugs.
let me just read here. This is 3 minutes. Let me just read some few points and I finish the rest. Here. Do you have it on your what? You don't? On your laptop? Okay. So here it says as follows. This is called the entering wedge letter. Most of people, they don't know it. They don't find it. But it's there. Here it says, we thought you might be interested in this. This was written October 12, 1952. Okay. Dear brother and sister, we were glad when we saw a letter from you, but soon our gladness was turned into sadness as we learned that you have been assailed by fanatics. We are happy, however, that you wrote to us so honestly and frankly, thus giving us the opportunity to reply. As to where you should pay your tithe, that of course is for you to decide. But as to your objection to the Rhodes position on time for drugs, as is set forth in the entering wedge, we feel it our duty to make a few comments on it. First of all, brother and sister, brother and sister, the booklet contains only that which God has seen fit to reveal. And second, the booklet's subtitle, Genesis of Diet and Health, shows that its contents are not the end of health reform, but the very beginning of it. And the title, Entering Wedge, shows that it is only the means of opening the way for more light to follow. These facts plainly reveal that the booklet is not written particularly for those who are already practicing health reform, but rather for those who may be led into it. You know, a mother does not wean her baby before it learns to live on solid food. So it is with adults, they cannot be started on a strict reform. So it is with adults. They cannot be started on a strict reform, all at once. It has to come gradually by knowledge and by practice. This precisely is what the entering wage endeavors to accomplish. It is not, you will not, speaking especially to well-informed Christians, but rather to the public in general. Consequently, the objection which zealots raise against the position that there is a time for drugs is prompted either from lack of thought or purely from fanaticism. If these fanatical no-druggers had remedies to replace drugs in the treatment of critically acute and deadly diseases, if they were able, without opiates to relieve severe pain, without anesthetics and surgery to remove deadly malignancies or cancer diseases, and a bested appendixes, okay, and to repair mangled bodies without vitamin K to check hemorrhages or bleeding, and without insulin to eliminate excess sugar in diabetics, or if they were able without nitroglycerin to relieve angina pectoris or chest pains, or again without digitilis to slow down the too rapid pulse, or without caramine to stimulate the too slow pulse, or in other heart disorders, then there would be justification in discriminately condemning drugs. As it is now, though, their condemnation of all drugs for all people under all circumstances, and at the same time their utter failure to save the victims in all such cases from either death or excruciating suffering, is folly and madness. Then it goes down.
So you see, that is the answer that Brother Hotel was giving to someone who was asking about the interim wage. Because they just say no drugs, then they were thinking that now we are saying there is no drugs. So saying that when you look at carefully the interim wage, it is telling you what you can do. Time for drugs, time is not for drugs. Okay? So he's saying that if we, like the example that Brother Nelson said, that somebody's hand is damaged, and then in the damage, you find that maybe Brother Keagan added say a metal has entered. And then Brother Nelson put it saying that another disease has entered that person.
Yes, infectious
disease. I'm sure those of us that have been to the hospital, the first thing they will give is tetanus to protect anything that has entered, isn't it, Brother? Yes. So this is what the prophet is saying, that if we ask, we say that no, we are anti-drugs, okay? Or we just say, oh, drugs are bad at all times. Then he's saying that now, if we can't help, somebody's hand is damaged, it needs to be sutured. Then if you stick on drugs, how are you going to help that individual? Mufuna kwanja iwole, then mukambati akaili mulungu analesa, then apakambati. That is what? Folly and what? Madness. Hatukosogonezeka or kufunja. Maona ka? So there are these drugs that could be able to help. That's why I'm saying that yachama drugs. Kambiri mukaona yachama kama drugs ya ma theater yalichena time, but mwanaweza kufikira dose kama within 2 hours nishia sida nchito muntu amba kumvera pain. Mwaiona ka? Unlike ya jauki musta nozati ayanika yamba kuyama munga yokuza unga mangola ya BP. Basi anakuza kulipa kusachani kulipa kuleta. Are you seeing? So you can see and you can understand which drugs are good for you and which are not for you. So that's why here the prophet's answer was, not all drugs are bad. And not all drugs are good, isn't it? Yes. So we need to be seeing that. So I've shared the letter to those that are whose names I have. All of you have shared. As I mentioned, maybe I will just have to share this letter with sister.
And I'll just quoting. Here you can have questions and contributions. This is 12:36. I end here. The long looked at lesson, drugs and what? We looked at vaccines and drugs. We discussed it in 3 or 4 weeks, huh? 3 weeks, huh? Huh? Okay. So the last part is this same one, because most of them, because of the things that we looked at, others would say, okay, entirely we cannot do blood transfusion, we cannot do those, we cannot attend to those diagnostics such as machines. Others also will say, will not entirely participate in drugs. But we've concluded how to handle if we are put in a certain predicament which requires us to what? If we are put, sorry mudana, become a good kuli, yes, similar.
Wati ati kulimisa mu iligawo to ayimbita iligawo.
And he has said that there are certain medicines that are good and others that are not.
So balimisa mu iligawo to ayita iligawo.
So these medicines that are good and those that are bad.
So yamu buli yajimuntu aya uti mbuli motwalibya tu wainka wavu then waleta.
At Kuri Monga there's those medicines that we say that we just go to nature and get them and use.
So
and the question now comes this way. There are those medicines like you go to witch doctors.
Aenda wawaunga wakupa msamu gachitewo ndiza ombiri wamba tukaweyasi so ilikako tuya misamo na ilibuti.
There are those medicines that the witch doctor will give you to say these ones you are going to use this way and that way, or sometimes they'll tell you, say no, they even do they cut your body and then apply. Are they okay? That is his question.
So there's a course in council. I don't know if you can try to attempt this involve the audience. Yes, he asked a question. Okay. I can try to what? To answer it. I wanted to look for that. I don't know if you have a brilliant. I'm able to recite it, but I'm not able to quote the quote. But here it says there are many healing methods. You remember that quote? The one says, "But God sanctions one." You remember that one? That quote. Okay. So he come back that. Okay, I've found it. This is CD 301 paragraph 2. It says, there are many ways of practicing the healing art, but there is only one way that heaven approves. So ati niva mbili mopolesa muntu, niva mbili. Ku India, vaishita practice Ayurvedic medicine, yokupolesera muntu, na bevi bakulu bane wachitira. Yes, 301 paragraph 2. Okay. Ma Chinese na beve bawazinga ndani, bawazinga mwezi ba jadijani, bawazinga ati they call it yin and yang practice, shashu. ni vambiri. But there's one that God what? Amenavomereza. Muno, mu Africa, kuli ma African spirits, nganga. Mfiti. Nganga, ezeriko mfiti, dala, anakwera nkara nganga. Then, akwanisa kupolesa, kuparaona, then apasa aziwe mitengo. There's a lesson attached to that one. How did they become nganga? Okay. But oftentimes, wama gona na bantu kufa. Kuti ankarejani, ankare nganga. Okay, which the Bible condemns such practice. Understand? Na kuona wama nkarati ni masias, fulani ma prophets. Amba kuonera hivyo. Agona alota mtengo. Hai, ama pempeza mafanizo. Manganga. So there are those attached to nganga, which God condemns. So nganga, Bible sister zani, sister love. Okay? Umfiti, familiar spirit, Bible sister zani, sister love. So, okay. So in 302. Okay. So, Ijamanja, which heaven approves, says God's remedies are the simple agencies of nature that will not tax or debilitate the system through their powerful properties. Pure air, water, cleanliness, a proper diet, purity of life, and a firm trust in God are remedies for the want of which thousands are dying. Yet these remedies are going out of date because their skillful use requires work that the people do not appreciate. Fresh air, exercise, pure water, clean, sweet premises are within the reach of all, with but little expense, but drugs are expensive, both in the outlay of means and the effect produced upon the system. So when you even go down, you discover that the roots are also involved. Manzi, pure air, or in short, nature. But the problem is nganga na hivi using atani nature. Na hivi nganga using a nature. So tentinga zibiri kuti even nganga tiwona kuti ati uyu muntu banganga bama using atani bama using ma spirit ma demons. Hai. So stinga yende kubaso. But kumtengo wamena anja mutengo amene anga endo kolola nganga maybe tembusha nganga imozinga tembusha so sikamba tembusha iri bad. That's the myth that we've been teaching. Understand? Ati muntu akamona tembusha ni nganga tembusha siri bad in itself, but kapena muntu acha involve na vimzima ikako mzimu kutembusha kayoma ikako chimzimu. The truth of the matter is, all practicing of medicine, there is an influencing spirit. It's either God or the devil. You have to understand this. Either in drugs or not, or even vizan. So even munganga, there's an influencing spirit. So that influencing spirit, ni kapena ni satana, kulipe kushita involved. No fit it. Don't. So you have to follow what God sanctions. What God sanctions is natural remedies, pure air, water, natural roots, natural herbs, not attached to spirits. Okay, familiar spirits. I hope I've answered your question. Okay.
Thank you so much, brother. Bana, this closing for us. Pray for the food as well. So we are all going to kneel down as Brother Nelson closes for us in prayer. You remember to pray for the church and also for prayer. We thank you, Lord, for grace. We thank you for the sermon. Thank you for the lesson. We thank you for that you prepared for us today. Help us. Even as we continue for the rest of the day,
to meditate upon your word and to help us to be transformed people for your use, even for the betterment of life, society, and your kingdom. We ask, Lord, that you bless all our brothers and sisters gathered in different places today, even as you have blessed us. May your grace be upon that for us to feed, that may provide us nutrition, the energy that we need even for this moment. Be with us according to your will. In your Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Okay, thank you so much. This marks the end of our health presentation. We'll meet again at 14:30 for the Bible study, where we are looking at answering the question as to the meaning of the lamb slain from the foundation of the earth. So that is what we'll continue with. And so the first presentation will be by Sister Olivia. If she finishes in time, the second will be by Brother Keagan. Then the third will be by Brother Bernard. Yes.